The European integration process cannot be fully understood without taking into account neoliberal globalization and the dependencies and interdependencies it has created. Recently, the darker side of Europe's globalization could be also experienced in Europe in the cases of COVID-19 pandemic, blockages of logistic routes, and geopolitical conflicts and sanctions. Indeed, many European economies disproportionately depend on external factors for their socio-economic development. This dependency often seriously deforms their societies and economies. Moreover, currently the EU has begun a period of green transition, a technological change towards a greener future, and there is a lot of talk about resilience and sustainability. But perhaps we should also speak about democracy and the local economy and its potential in the first place if we want to have a more ecological, sustainable, equal and democratic future. In today's episode, we will talk about the potential of the local economy or localization of economic activities in Europe, especially for those peripheral economies with high levels of globalization. Today's guest is a Czech economist and associate professor Ilona Švihlíková. Welcome everybody to our next talk, which is related to the problems of peripheral economies of the European Union. And today we are going to talk about a very important topic with my guest Ilona Švihlíková, who is a Czech economist, and she's also associated professor at the Pan-European University, where she is also a supervisor of university program called Local Economy and Global Economy. And we are indeed going to talk about this topic, about local economy, because in our study 100 Shades of the EU, we were talking a lot about deficits or problems of peripheral economies. And one of the issues we actually were talking about and identifying as a problem is that they have very weak local economy. They are much integrated in the global system, which they cannot much influence on, and their local economic links are very, very weak in general. So this is our topic today. I thank Ilona for her time. Welcome, Ilona.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
And we will start with the general question because maybe not everybody knows or understands what is actually local economy. And I met in the past kind of ideas that local economy is something like, autarky. It's creation of economic autarky. So maybe I would ask you first to explain what is local economy and how to understand it and how to differentiate it from economic autarky.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I would start with autarky as it's a maybe more known term. Autarky practically means that some region or even a state doesn't want to have any external links and wants to be self-sufficient in most important goods or in all goods. It's a kind of extreme of economic policy, and nowadays we can't find really any state or bigger region that would have this type of autarky. Not even North Korea would fit into this example. Local economy is a very interesting concept that at first sight is in contradiction to globalization. Actually, globalization means that there is some international division of labor, and that there can be large influences, be it from export, be it from financial flows on the local community. And as you said, smaller communities and even middle-sized cannot exert much influence on foreign markets and very often find themselves under pressure. It can be employment, it can be local environment, it can be their own traditions, cultures, customs, or combination of all. Local economy is something that should actually stabilize economies that are open or too much open to global influences. It practically means that there is a connection between the local production and local consumption. very simply put. So what I produce in the spot is consumed in the spot, which also should help to keep the financial resources in the given region, in the given community, and thus also to maintain employment in the given community. Of course, then we can encounter more difficult questions like how big or how small should local economy be. It differs, of course. It can be very different in large economies like the United States and in small ones like the Czech Republic. However, local we usually see as something that is within a distance I can influence as a citizen and I can understand as a citizen. So I have some general overview of who are the producers there, who produces locally and what, and I know the representatives of the community, be it from the municipality like the mayor and so on, or other important personas in the community. So I can reach them. Yeah. Sometimes there's a simplified version that says when there is a local newspaper, that's the local community, and everybody has access to the local newspaper. It may be a little bit simplified, but I believe that partly it helps us to understand what local is. So the main task for the local community is to first use the resources that are in the place, and secondly, to increase the potential of the local economy so that you start to produce more things that can be consumed on the local level. And of course, the first, when we talk about building up local economy, usually we start with agriculture, so with food and with agriculture products.
Okay, this is actually very much, I think, connected with the question which everybody talks about. Two questions, actually, which everybody talks about, but I don't think they are really grasped very well, at least in the EU policies. First is the question of economic democracy. And the second question is actually the question of ecological sustainability, because I think these two things both are related. So could you tell us how actually these two issues could benefit from the existence of larger and more stronger local economy?
Yeah, it's precisely like that. When we talk about globalization, as we said, many very important decisions for the community are made somewhere else. So not even in the state, but on very far markets that people don't understand actually what is going on there when the production is shifted overseas, when there is outflow of financial flows and the local community just, watches what is going on here and practically can exert any influence at all. And this, of course, means that you lose any grip of your destiny. And this is a very important thing, because in democracy we presume that your voice and your vote can influence something. However, when important economic and not only economic decisions are made very far away from you, then the question is, what is the content of such democracy? When you have the politicians which say, well, then the markets have decided, so on. There's something absolutely invisible to the local community. However, it is the community that bears the costs after all. Costs that their factory, the traditional factory, just closed down or moved to India, or that they lost their competitive edge because there is some transnational company there nearby who is using the local labor source and paying very weak wages and so on. So this is a huge problem. Local means that really you can see the consequences of your actions as well, and there is a certain extent how much you can influence. So only influence by the fact that you buy something locally, that you support the producers, or you are the producer yourself, or you work for the municipality and you try to repair the infrastructure so more local business can thrive. All this means you can exert some influence, which of course increases the democratic legitimacy. So you are not just the victim of something that happens thousands of kilometers far away from you. You can influence something. So your vote counts, and not only the political vote, the economic vote as well. So that's one of the reasons why I believe that local economy and the promotion of it, it's hugely important. And also, by the way, it is, of course, expresses the idea of subsidiarity, which was one of the original ideas of European integration. Now, I would say mostly forgotten, or at least not applied so much. So that's the one point. And the second, of course, when produced locally, you care much more about what happens with the waste. You care much more what is going to be produced on the fields around your villages or around a small town, the way it is processed, because you live there. And again, you will feel the consequences. When your waste is transported thousands of kilometers away, you don't see it. And then it's more probable you won't care. However, when you live there, you feel the consequences, then again, the probability that you will think about some recycling system, maybe more sustainable ways of farming is much higher. So again, local economy is a big contribution both to increasing democracy, I would say democratic legitimacy, to increase the possibility of citizens to really influence something in their community, in their region. And at the same time, it does help to sustain environmental sustainability, just because people see the consequences and are able to influence more than when they say, well, of course, well, that happened somewhere far away there in Africa. We don't care.
Yes. So the next question would be how to actually, which instruments to use to build such economy. And especially I would like to ask you how to do it in the context of the small open economies, which are typical for the majority of the EU peripheries. Our own country, Czech Republic, is a great example of this. Basically all growth, economic growth, is based on something outside of the country. And all problems which appear outside of the country are affecting the life of the people in the country. So what could be the most important instruments, policy instruments for building local economy in this context?
I would say that the first definitely is increasing awareness, that you actually know what it means to local economy and what benefits there are. And that maybe you think a little bit more about your buying decisions. Yeah, because there you show your preferences. Of course, when it is a low-cost economy, a low-wage economy, as it's in the Czech Republic, this is an extremely difficult task because, and we see it on all possible researches and surveys, on the first place, the priority is price, and people don't care so much about the origin of the goods. Typically, we can start with food, as that's let's say, very, very simple example. So the situation is very difficult, very different from Austria, we could say, because that's a neighboring country and quite similar in many aspects. So increasing this awareness that actually my money has the power to influence something is hugely important for people to understand. Well, of course, I can buy maybe something something cheaper that comes from very distant markets. But what will it mean for my community when this money goes far away? And this goes for transnational chains of supermarkets as well. So when you prefer the local producer, the local shops, again, there's a different impact. So when there is a possibility to think more about these decisions, because it seems maybe too simple, but it really counts. It really counts. All these decisions count a lot. So increasing this awareness, and of course the municipality can do a lot here. So there are possibilities of markets, seminars, workshops to show just who are the local producers, what they do. You can do many competitions, starting local farmers to promote their goods and to show, come on, this is here. You eat locally, so maybe you should know what's in the product. You have more control, even when there are health concerns. This may count a lot. So that's the start. Awareness, simple as that. I'm afraid to say that this awareness is not as big as in the Czech Republic. So there's a lot of work to be done. Second, of course, there can be a special support from municipalities. So for local producers, there can be special conditions for attending local markets. The municipality can own the marketplace and say only those who are from 30 kilometers distance can offer their products here. For example, there can be special contracts with schools, with hospitals, with social institutions, that they would prefer local goods, starting with food. The same with restaurants. A lot of can be done with special workshops and promotion actions. So that's the next part. And of course, when the municipality has some utilities, some facilities of free buildings, so again they can offer at more discounted prices to local producers. Same thing, what not to do. One of the most disastrous things for local economy is when you allow huge supermarkets, transnational companies, to build all around your town with all the goods. That's a perfect way how to destroy not only the food production in the place, but also small shops with various goods. They will be definitely threatened a lot. So the decisions of municipalities really count. Next is, of course, the infrastructure. So if there are good roads, if you can get to the city, if there is some promotion of local tourism, there are also special applications even. So when you go to some regions, you can find out who the local producers are and what they offer, maybe for some traditional products. It can be jewelry, it can be textile, it can be some specific local products, kitchen utensils, whatever. And so there are applications that you can actually find out. When I go there, it's not just visiting a castle. I can spend my money for the local production to keep the money there. So definitely this type of promotion is also very useful. However, the first point it starts, local economy needs care. And it needs some thinking about. And this is something for the citizens, for the producers to cooperate. Also, cooperatives are crucial there, especially when we talk about food production. And, of course, it's also a big task for the municipalities because they should promote the local, and very often, unfortunately, they more care about the foreign interests, and then they wonder that there are not so many enterprises that they all vanished or moved to a different city. So a lot can be done. Of course, on the macroeconomic level, one of the most important issues is the increase in living standard. It's actually the best when it goes from above and also from the bottom, from both, because if you have increase in the living standards, higher wages, and even more security in the economy, then people tend to prefer local goods. On the other hand, when there's a lot of insecurity and when there's a constant pressure for the wages to go down, then of course people tend to prefer price. And in some cases, not in all, but in some cases, that can be detrimental for local economy.
Maybe we should here say to our listeners that because we are both Czechs, we know very well the situation in our country, and in our country we have absolute predominance of these transnational firms who are selling foods, and we don't have any Czech chains which would really...
We have a cooperative, Konzum.
Yeah, but so huge ones. Yes.
Yeah,
and we have to say that
there are very huge differences among them. There are some who really, operate in a way that it's not actually much anchored in the local economy. However, there are also great examples like Konzum in Ústí nad Orlicí, which is in eastern Bohemia. And they are doing a great job because they're constantly communicating with local producers. They are cooperating on the promotion sphere. They are opening shops even in small villages because it's a cooperative, the people there want it. They have also overtaken some post offices, to maintain the level of these services in the villages, which is actually doing community work or even community work for the state, actually. So they have a huge network of local shops and local activities as such. So it is possible. It is possible. But of course, it needs a lot of work, a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking how to do it. And unfortunately, in many cases, it's much easier. Oh, come on, we have here some free land. We will give it to some of the large chains because we have only 3 of them and now we have 4. Yeah.
Or we build the storage, for some Amazon or something like this. And but this is what you mentioned about the state. State is, I think, important, specifically related to the salaries, because we know that we compete with salaries with the low price of the labor, and then it's difficult to build such kind of economy. However, I wonder if there would be some kind of possibility of localization of the economy on the European level. We were talking about the smaller level within the states, that really the local or regional, but I think European Union has some kind of potential. Only these links between the regions are not actually used. That's the important thing, because in the study we are showing that European Union was and is the agent of neoliberal globalization, nothing else. Mm-hmm. This is unfortunately the reality since the 1990s, the reality of our integration in the European Union. So would be there some kind of roof possibility to boost it through the European Union, through the market in the European Union, when in different countries there could be some kind of cooperation, cross-border cooperation, and so on? Is there such possibility or alternative for the European market?
Yeah. I believe so, because local economy is actually something that many countries have a huge experience with. It's nothing they should learn, because they are very strong in that. We talked about Austria. Let's talk about Italy. There's a strong patriotism for each region, not only having their regional specialties, being cheese, wine, or whatever, but also connected industries, being art, fashion, and the locals are very, very proud of their products. So a certain degree of patriotism is very important. It's not chauvinism. It's actually being part of some region and contributing positively to its development, of course, and the pride goes with that. So this is something that is not new. What is a problem that really in the EU the neoliberal ideology is firmly anchored, and I don't see many changes there. On the other hand, if something, I see more pressure to increase the level of the transnational influence. This is maybe it's a dilemma between being competitive on the global level, where you think that transnational companies can contribute to that, and on the other hand, to sustain I would say true European culture in many cases. So really there's responsibility to the region, of course, and I would vote for the second option, which in some cases may be not as efficient as the global view. However, what efficient? Well, fine, okay, when we talk about economy, but there are also other goals, which means keeping employment, keeping decent wages, keeping the regions so that young people don't leave. Have a look at southern Italy. Well, yeah, that's one of the problems. You lose potential. So when you don't care about that, and when you just look globally at the macro level, then of course you see some average numbers. But in reality, what do you see? You see some very rich metropoles that concentrate all the wealth, and then you see many regions that are practically silenced. They don't have a voice. You don't hear much about them. People leave from there, young people especially. You don't have factories there. You don't have production. And it looks like something after the Second World War. So you have these huge differences. And of course, no wonder that these huge differences are then reflected also on the political sphere. Yeah, that's only a matter of time. When you have a huge concentration of wealth, and that's something what neoliberal ideology typically does, concentration on the level of individuals and also in the geographical sphere, you can see it very well. And then you have regions that are simply forgotten and left somewhere. Then, of course, this shows also on the political sphere, on the deep cleavages that are in the society. And here again, more local production, local consumption would help to at least mitigate a bit these consequences. And again, you cannot have at the same time neoliberal efficiency and have democracy. I am absolutely sure that these two are not compatible. You can have either one or the other one. And there's a time when you have to choose between these two.
Well, neoliberalism is actually about destroying democracy.
Yeah,
we have a lot of studies
which
are totally clear about that this was why neoliberal ideology was born, and this is the aim of neoliberalism in a way. So there is no surprise about this. So I think we can leave it to here, our talk today. I thank you very much for your time, and I think you make clear contribution about what is local economy and how it can help peripheral economies in the EU and the EU itself. And not only, of course, we can go beyond Europe because it's relevant everywhere. Thank you, Rana, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
And I will wish everybody nice time in listening us, and I will look forward to our next episode. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.